Okay, so I can see how this might come off as a rather random game to talk about, but let me explain. The Dragon Quest series has always caught my interest ever since I was exposed to it through 8 back in middle school. It doesn't hurt that I also really like Dragon Quest 8 as well. About a year ago, I had bought all the Dragon Quest games for the DS, and have been playing through them in my free time. And like, holy crap, I've been really enjoying the latest game I'm playing. So I thought, hey, I feel like talking about the Dragon Quest game I had played through last year. And well, here we are. So why don't we go ahead and get into Dragon Quest IV, Chapters of the Chosen. Congratulations! You're a young hero, either male or female, your choice, relaxing in your home village as evil starts to stir in the world. Then BAM! Meet Rygar. Let's get a better understanding of what's going on here. Dragon Quest IV begins its story in an interesting way. You see, this game is technically divided up into chapters, though this isn't very noticeable later in the game, and in the first few chapters you will be playing as different characters who have their own little journeys. So first we have Rygar, a knight in pink who is tasked to solve the mystery of why children have been disappearing. Then we have the tomboy princess Alina, who with a couple of her companions escape their castle to go on an adventure that includes entering a fighting tournament. There's Torneko, an employee of a weapon shop who dreams of owning his own arms store. And finally we have Mina and Maya, two sisters who set out to take vengeance on the man who killed their father. Now I actually find each of these early chapters to be great for setting up our characters, who the hero will eventually recruit, mostly because it's only in these chapters where the characters have any kind of personality. You see, past those introductions, all the characters become silent blank slates. The hero being silent, I'm fine with, but not everyone else. You can go back and visit some of their hometowns or confront certain bosses and they won't have anything to add. Because of this, I find the characters to be less memorable and likable, since for the most part they only stand out in gameplay, but not in story. I'm not asking for any complex character development, I just wish they had some personality. The overall story itself I found to be a bit lackluster, though I wouldn't say I hated it. It's a fine, simple story of evil trying to take over the world and the hero standing up against it. Dragon Quest IV is very much your typical turn-based RPG. There's a world map for you to explore, you will eventually get a boat or an air balloon to reach certain areas, dungeons you'll have to go through, towns to visit, and, well, turn-based battles. Though there are some extra things of note here. First off, we have Torneko's intro chapter, where you can manage a store and spend some of your time finding treasure. It was something I really enjoyed and a nice slight change of pace. Also, once you get back to playing as the hero, the game becomes very open world, as you'll want to travel to various locations to recruit the other party members, and talk to villagers to get hints of what you'll need to do next in order to progress further in the game. The more open world approach was quite a surprise for me compared to most other RPGs that I've played of this particular type. One great positive to the open world style is that it really complements exploration, rewarding you for checking every town and NPC. Though that does come with some downsides too, and one big one for me was that I found it was pretty easy to get lost on what you need to do or where to go to progress the game. I mean, it also doesn't help that I took a month-long break from the game when I got to that point, but I eventually had to pick up a walkthrough to help me out. Dungeons, I would say, aren't that difficult to navigate, even in the later half of the main story. Don't get me wrong, there were some tough monsters in some of them, but in terms of navigation, I never got lost, and I even say that they were kinda short with the exception of one dungeon. In towns, you can of course visit armor and weapon shops. There are also item shops, but personally, I never really used healing items that much. I don't know if this applies for everyone, but most of my time spent grinding was grinding for gold to buy the best equipment, rather than grinding for levels. I don't yet know if there are any better ways of getting money in these games, so if anyone has some advice, that would be great. But grinding that much still wasn't too troublesome for me, since I managed to beat the game in under 40 hours. You'll also need to visit the churches in order to save your game, cure someone of the curse status, which doesn't appear too often, so you don't have to worry about that, and revive a character if you don't yet have Zing. While dying doesn't result in a game over, it still really sucks to have your party wiped out. What happens is you'll be brought to the last church you had visited, lose half your gold, and will still have to pay to revive the other 3 party members. So trust me, don't die, it fucking sucks. One great thing about this game is the variety of characters you'll have on your journey. You'll have some physical hitters like Ragnar and Alina, and some spellcasters like Kirill and Mina. The spellcasters are varied as well. Some have more offensive spells, while others have more support spells. When playing the game, I personally always had one physical character, a support, my hero character, and Maya. Maya was by far my MVP of the game. First off, she has some of the best MP and HP of the magic users, as well as having a decent wisdom and luck stat, gets the best offensive spells in the game, and can even transform herself into a dragon. She is by far the best character in the game, and she completely outshines some of the other magic users, such as Borya, who has not all that great hit points, really good magic points, and the defenses of a twig. So yeah, I didn't really use him at all on my team. Though, all the characters are useful, and some are better to have in your party than others when taking on certain bosses, who may be weak to certain spells, or may be constantly buffing themselves. And I would say that throughout the game, the bosses are some pretty good challenges, the final boss definitely being a pretty long fight. There are some side quests you can do as well, like the mini-medals. Mini-medals can be found in chests, drawers, barrels, and pots. If you collect so many of them, you can actually trade them in for prizes from King Minkin, which I would highly recommend, as you can get some pretty good equipment from him. You can also visit some casinos and lose all your money at the slots, making you have to grind for it all over again. For some extra fun, there is even a monster fighting arena, where you can place bets on who you think will win, which is kind of amazing. Though my personal favorite of the side quests is easily Hoffman's Place. When traveling the world, you'll come across a small town in the desert. Visit the town and you'll meet Hoffman, who is trying to find people to populate his little village. Depending on how far you are in the game, you can travel around the world talking to certain characters who will move to Hoffman's town. The more people you recruit, the bigger the town gets, and it's really fun watching the town grow and talking to the villagers to see how they change over time as well. Plus, you can get some great equipment later on in this town, which is very helpful. After you've beaten the main story, a post-game event becomes available, where you can take on extra bosses and even get a new character, giving you some extra stuff to do. Maybe it's just me, but I find this game to be very visually appealing. Character sprites are well detailed and have a good use of colors, with the best sprites easily being the monsters, who have very fun designs. While some locations on the world map don't feel very distinct from one another, most of the towns are more diverse and are enjoyable to explore. Personally, I find most of the music to be really easy to listen to. Not too many of the tracks are very upbeat. They felt more calm and atmospheric to me, like Elegy, Sea Breeze, and Homeland. In the end, I think it's a good soundtrack and one that's worth listening to. So, would I recommend Dragon Quest IV? Well, if you really like turn-based classical RPGs, then hell yeah. While I'm disappointed the characters don't really have anything in terms of personality, and I did get lost later on and needed a walkthrough, I still really enjoyed this game. It's a good, simple RPG that gives you some great variety in party members, fun locations to visit, and is overall a very solid experience. I should stress this though, it's only a game that I think would appeal to people who already enjoy old school turn-based RPGs. This is not a game I'd recommend to people who are trying to get into these types of RPGs. For that, I'd recommend Dragon Quest VIII more. Still, I had fun playing this game, and I'm happy I put the time into it that I did. I'm looking forward to playing through the other Dragon Quest games for the DS, as well as Dragon Quest VII Remake for the 3DS that I had recently bought. I don't know when I'll have Dragon Quest V beat, but when I do, you can be certain I'll talk about that game too. I'm MCB, the PS2 gamer, and I'll see you all next time.